Hey there, it's Steve. I just finished another Crab's Treasure, or as you may have been hearing on the internet, Crab Souls. And as the name implies, it is very much FromSoft inspired. It is a Dark Souls-like game. But what makes this game interesting is that it merges platform elements to the game. I've been saying for a long time that the Soulsborne genre has a lot of untapped potential. And Aggro Crab's game here nails it. The premise of the game is really simple. You're just a crab who wants his shell back. You get evicted from your home. The story has a little bit of politics in there. You'll probably see it when you play it. But other than that, it's not hard to guess where things are going. But that doesn't mean it isn't a creative idea. What I love about Another Crab's Treasure is that they take the problem with polluting the ocean and they turn that into a game. The whole ocean is littered in gunk and crap all over the place. And it pollutes the minds of a lot of the sea life, which makes them aggro towards Krill, the main character. This adds a whole lot of other interesting ideas too, like the trash becomes a currency for the crabs of the city. I forgot what the town was called, but they are called microplastics, and they are also your souls. So that's how you level up and pay for things in the game. There are other familiar elements too in this game as well, like bonfires or moon snails, for instance. They function the exact same way as a bonfire, and they can be just as frustrating to find as in an actual Dark Souls game. In fact, some of the placements of these moon snails are a pain, like in Lies of P and Elden Ring. Good example real quick. There is this really cool area called the Sands Between, and there is this boss that roams the entire area. It's kind of like Mr. X from Resident Evil. Fantastic idea. I love it. He's really difficult. But there's no moon snail right at the start of this little area. So every time you die, you have to go through this long hike back to the area, which can be a pain. And there's a few other spots like that too in Another Crab's Treasure. So that's definitely one complaint. But one bonus that I really like, but I wish all the Souls games did, is on certain bosses, if you die, instead of taking you back to the last spawn, bonfire or whatever, the game will ask you if you just want to spawn right back there and beat the boss. And the best part is, collecting your souls is easy because it's right under the platform that you spawn on. It's so convenient. You don't have to worry about going into the boss, collecting your souls, and you just go back into fighting, which is a great thing. I love that so much. Now for some of the elements that are different from other Souls-like games. So I mentioned the jumping earlier, but there's really only 2 weapons in this game, and you unlock the second one through these umami charges, these little shards. It's just a hammer, but what makes it cool is that you can attach a shell to it that you find out in the wild. Actually, the shells are a huge part of the game. It makes it really charming, because each shell has its own stats and weight. Like, you know how Dark Souls has fat rolling and all that? Well, Another Crab's Treasure has that in the form of shells, but each shell has its own unique attribute. Like, some you can do a little spin attack. Another, you can charge up your speed or attack. There's one that's called the Party Hat that's really cool. It's just a little gun. It's awesome. I love that one a lot. There's even a boxing glove, a little bomb. There's a whole bunch of them, and they're really cool. But these shells are not permanent. You can break your shell, and when you're without a shell, you're very squishy, and you die a lot easier. But the game also offers something called shell insurance. I never used that, but it can be very helpful for certain players. You can even buy certain shells too, like one of the Among Us character. There's also some other crossover elements too, like there's a skin for Cult of the Lamb, and there's also some environmental stuff too, like Peppino's Pizza from Pizza Tower. And even Mario's cigarettes. I don't think the Nintendo endorses that one though. Other abilities also include unlocking a parry attack, healing your shell from the bonfire or moon snail. There's all sorts. They're awesome. There's even these other side abilities that you unlock through umami crystals. These are like special attacks. These can vary from a gun, a big claw, or my personal favorite, the Mantis Shrimp Punch. This punch feels so satisfying to land. It's so fun to use. I love it. And honestly, in the game, you can level up your character just like any Souls game, but there's not many elements to rank up with. There's vitality, health, attack power, umami charge, and then resistance. Attack is kind of useless. You don't really feel that at all. It's the umami stuff. Definitely put your points into that one. It's really nice. There's even little power-ups you can find too, or badges like in other Souls games, or rings, I guess. These abilities can be like lamprey, a shell, or whatever. They do abilities like raise your attack, your umami charge. Some can make you immune to electricity. There's one called Frederick, and he gives you a little fish friend. Krill gets a little fish friend. It's really fun. All sorts of abilities to discover. It's a lot of fun to explore the game and discover them. Although, sometimes they give you the same ones over and over again. Thankfully, you can sell them for microplastics to use for whatever you want. Leveling up, buying stuff, etc. Although this game does a lot of unique things, it also borrows some ideas from other games too, like Lies of P and Sekiro. With Lies of P, in that game there was a parrying mechanic, a perfect parrying. Not like in Dark Souls, but how you like take the hit and then you absorb the attack. That's kind of similar in this game too, but when you land a parry, it will go against the enemy's damage guard, which is similar to Sekiro. And once you fill up that damage guard, you can land a charge attack to knock the opponent on their back and then punish them that way. There's even an ability where you can do a little Twilight Princess-esque finisher move on the enemies. It doesn't one-shot kill them, but it does do a nice bit of damage, which... Now, I think this game also has a lot of charming character designs. It's very clever. A lot of the enemies in this game use garbage as weapons. Like, there's a crab with a banana on its head and it attacks you with a comb. There's another enemy with like a plastic bag on its body. An enemy that attacks you with like toothpicks. It's all over the place. There's even a boss that uses, you know what? I'm gonna let you see for yourself. It's kind of caught me off guard. But yeah, the game is surprisingly adult too. Like, hours into it, they drop a shit. Like, it caught me off guard. I'm like, wait, they can say that word in this game? Oh man. So yeah, there's definitely some adult themes in this game. But yeah, the character designs, really good. I think they're great. I think Krill is a charming character. He can unlock a lot of costumes for him. There's even one based off Mr. Krabs. Don't know how they're allowed to do that, but hey, I like me some Mr. Krabs. There's even some crossover ones too that they probably got permission for, like Cult of the Lamb. There's even one based off the sun guy from Dark Souls. I'm forgetting his name, Solaire, I think. So it's really cool. There's even one really cool one at the end of the game where you can put on like a skull or something. It's really Dark Souls-esque. It's awesome. I actually think Krill would make an amazing addition to Rivals 2 if they're willing to do crossover characters. Rivals 2 is like a Smash Brothers-like game that's coming out soon. That game is really good. Keep an eye on that one too. Krill also has like a little grappling hook or a fishing hook that can be used to Spider-Man your way across certain areas of the game. You can even unlock a skill where you can grab onto an enemy and bring them closer to you, or do my personal favorite, go towards them. You literally launch yourself over to the enemy and then you smack them in the face. It's very satisfying. The music is another thing I want to mention real quick. I was not that crazy about this game's soundtrack. There were definitely some good songs in there, some standout songs, especially towards the end. But some of the songs don't have a great loop. Sounds good, but then it just kind of stops for a while and then it just does like a loop. It doesn't feel natural like other games. And overall, most of the soundtrack is forgettable. Now, I do have a couple songs playing in the background, and I'll leave the link to those in the description. I think these were good songs. But yeah, I think the soundtrack was kind of weak, unfortunately. But that's okay. The main crux of this game is its gameplay, in my opinion. As for the level design, I think a lot of the levels are charming. They definitely use the element of trash under the sea. You end up seeing more garbage than more pretty sea life things. Like, you'll see some coral and all that, but most of it is like soap bottles, sponges, and a whole other variety of stuff that people would litter in the ocean. The first level is like chess pieces, so that's the theme of that world, which is very interesting. But some of the levels are kind of confusing. Like, in the Sands Between, there were times where I just didn't know where I had to go. But I kind of forgave it because the gimmick was so cool. It was the big crab that would chase you down the entire level. It was a lot of fun. And it was a challenging boss, too. But the Sands Between wasn't the most frustrating area of the game where I got lost. It was definitely towards the end. I'm not going to get into spoilers, but some of the level design there, although it was pretty, was a little frustrating. There were times where you would get up to a point and you'd do a 360 turn and be like, where do I go next? There are so many areas that look so similar. I know I've been to some of them. Which one is the one I didn't go to? And that will definitely happen more than once in the game, which is very sad. The game also has a few bugs, nothing game-breaking though. In fact, I actually found a speed running bug. You're gonna see it in a sec here, so I think it's pretty cool. I think I'm the first one to discover that, so patented. Also, I fell through the floor in another clip. But yeah, game's still great. These bugs could probably get patched in the future, but I probably just got unlucky. But one bug I had is I got hit by an enemy, and then I lost control over Krill, except for just walking. I couldn't run, I couldn't jump, and yeah, it was kind of annoying. I had to literally close the game and open it back up. So there's definitely a few bugs in there, but probably won't affect your playthrough that much. The game is also rich in bosses. I won't get into too much detail about them, but they are pretty unique and they're a lot of fun to look at and to fight. There's definitely a few stinker bosses in there, like some were a little too easy, but other than that, they're very challenging. And speaking of the difficulty in this game, Another Crab's Treasure, does something very unique with difficulty, or game journalism mode, kind of. You can customize the difficulty. You can increase Krill's armor, you can decrease the health of enemies, and some other quality of life things too if you're not very good at the game. There's even an option where you can give them a gun and literally one-shot anything in the game. So if a boss is really giving you trouble, or if there's an area that's annoying you, there's no shame in giving him the 9mm. Krill will go through that instantly. So that's pretty cool too. I think it's very accessible. I love Souls games, I love the challenge of them, but there are times where, I'm sure some players don't really like things being too difficult, so this is a great option for them. Another thing that this game takes inspiration from in Dark Souls is the classic Miyazaki Poison Swamp, so definitely look forward to one or two of those in the game. It's a staple. It's just tradition at this point. Another complaint I have is the map. The map is not great. There is a compass in the top left corner, which can pinpoint, important conversations or even where you last died. But when you open up the map in the menu, it just shows you the area that you're in. But it also doesn't show you where Krill is. So I always just assumed he was in the middle. But the place that bothered me the most was in the town. Because throughout my entire playthrough, the game gave me icons on the fast travel mechanic that there were people to talk to in the city. Great mechanic, just like in Lies of P, but I could never find where they were. I didn't know if it was a glitch or I just was really bad at finding them. So I think it would have been great if those icons were present on the map. So that's definitely a smaller complaint that I have. Overall, I really enjoyed my time with this game. It was a lot longer than I thought it would be. The game took me about 11 hours to beat. So it's definitely something I'll take up some of your time, but it's not nearly as long as an actual Dark Souls game. I recommend giving this a try if you're into Souls games, and especially platformers, because it's a new take on a really good genre that has not been explored thoroughly. I want to give this game a 9 out of 10. This game was fantastic. I loved my time with it. I loved Krill. He was a great character. The voice acting in the game definitely went hard sometimes. They knew what they were doing. They had fun. You can tell. And yeah, overall, I hope you guys liked the review. I don't do reviews that often. Actually, I only did one other review years ago on Origami King. So maybe I'll do more of these in the future. I kind of enjoy putting my thoughts down in video format. It's nice. Thanks for listening. I appreciate you guys watching till the end. If you want to check out more of my stuff, my art, my Twitch, that's Steve MWS. That goes for my Twitter too. Anyways, have a great rest of your day, and thanks again. Bye.